Okay guys, so this is the RevoNext RH-215 and so far it's a very good V-shaped tuned IM. Hi guys, my name's Ian. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I do mostly audio and tech product reviews, and if you guys are interested in this type of content, do consider to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell so that you get notified of my future videos. Okay, so the RevoNext RH-215 is currently retailing for $58 and if you guys are interested in checking it out yourself, do take a look at the link down in the description below. Right, so what I'm going to do is go through the accessories, then the fit and comfort of this IM, and then the sound performance of it. Alright, so let's begin. This is the box that it comes with, a pretty standard box. Cover opens out, right? So it's a pretty hard case, so pretty good quality box. And you have some specs at the back of the box. Let's just quickly go through it. 7 to 40,000 hertz in terms of frequency, and it's got impedance of 17 ohms, and the sensitivity is 108. Okay, it's a single dynamic driver, composite diaphragm, so pretty standard. Right, let's put the box one side, and then the accessories that it comes with, of course, paperwork, let's put that one side, and ear tips. Okay, so it comes with 3 pairs of ear tips, small, medium, and large, and I would say this is a pretty standard ear tip as well. Hardcore in the middle, the flap or the ear tips on the outside is pretty okay. The bore is pretty wide. It's not wide also, it's okay. It's a normal bore type of ear tip. Okay, so 3 pairs of ear tips, right, in the box. And the cable, right, so this cable is a 4-core cable, pretty okay. And the headphone jack is a angled headphone jack, a 3.5mm headphone jack. Comes with a Y splitter and no chin slider, but it's okay. This version does come with a microphone, right? So you can pick up your calls, answer your calls. There's a microphone here. At the same time, you can play and pause your music. And the ear hooks, the memory ear hooks are pretty stiff, right? Somewhere in the middle, not too stiff, not too soft. So it's pretty okay. So far it's okay on my ear, right? It's just that, you know, maybe the curve is a little bit too tight for me, but it's okay. You can adjust this. Then you have your 2-pin connectors. This is the QDC 2-pin connector, transparent. Okay, so cable wise, pretty normal to me. It's a pretty normal cable, nothing special. Okay, and let's talk about the IM themselves. All right, so you've got this like a seashell type of design, and from the looks of it, if you look at the faceplate, all right, it's got like a black type of paint with the gold lines, and then you have your RN RevoNext initials in the front. So pretty unique faceplate. Right, looks like it's hand painted, right? On the edges is like beveled and with gold color as well. I think this whole faceplate is made of brass, and on the inside is acrylic, and it's got the a fin, right? It's got a fin on the inside. The branding on the top here, you got your 2-pin connector. On the inside you have a vent, right, for the driver. You can see the drivers inside here, and I think there's some vents here. If I'm not too sure what these are, but they look like vents to me. Yeah, the nozzle is a pretty wide bore nozzle with metal filters. Okay, so pretty normal looking IM, right? Pretty usual. Now, fit and comfort, right? So these fit my ears really well. Somehow they fit my ear very well. The insertion of the nozzle is just nice at this angle. The fin really sits really well at the back of my ear. and it fits my ear like a glove, right? So in terms of fit and comfort, it's really good, and I don't feel any fatigue wearing this IEM, and I can wear them the entire day, and I don't feel any pain. So in terms of fit and comfort, they're really good. Seal is also really good for this because the fit and comfort is there. Okay, so yeah, fit and comfort, the seal is really good. Now let's talk about the sound. So for that, let me take out my graph and we'll go through the frequency graph at the same time the sound performance of these IMs. Be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and as you can see, I have graphed out this IEM, and now looking at the sound signature of this IEM, it's a V-shaped tuned IEM, right? So many IEMs which I have in my possession is a V-shaped tuned IEM, so this is no different. So let's talk about the technicalities of this IEM first. Now this driver here is a pretty good driver, I might say. The soundstage is above average. All right, it's not the best, it's also not the worst, so it's an above average soundstage. The soundstage is not a very deep soundstage, and the layering is not as there's not much layering to the soundstage as well. So the depth and the distance of the soundstage is pretty more of like a bedroom type of soundstage, and pretty intimate. Okay, a bit of height and more of the width in terms of the soundstage, not so much on the depth. The imaging and sound separation is pretty good. All right, so you can actually tell the difference, the position of the sound as the instruments, and also the sonic transition of the sound as well. So in terms of positioning and sound separation is pretty good. The detail retrieval and the resolution, again, nuances can be heard, but it's not the best resolution as well in terms of detail retrieval. So I would say it's above average, and it's not muddy as well. It's not low resolution sound. It does not produce any low resolution sound. In fact, it produces high resolution sound. It's just that there are other IEMs which I've tried that has got higher resolution. So in terms of resolution and detail retrieval, they are above average. So in terms of technicalities for this IEM, it's above average. It's pretty good, and the tone and the timbre of this IEM is more of a natural and a leaner type of tone and timbre. Not so much warmish. All right, it's more natural to neutral type of tone and timbre. The note weight is a little bit on the lighter side and the leaner side. Okay, so that's for the technicalities of this IEM. So let's just go through the sound signature, right? And then we'll compare this with a few IEMs that I have. Right, so for the sub bass is elevated, right? And as you can see, it's a V-shaped. So sub bass is naturally elevated, and also the treble is elevated as well. So sub bass, I would say, is above the Harman target and is very forward. It's just that the rumble, right, and the presence of the sub bass is more of a leaner and more natural type, a more clinical type of sub bass, right? So you can hear the rumble, and the extension of the rumble is pretty good. The roll off is very natural. The extension is good. So I would say the sub bass is more of a lighter tone, more leaner tone type of sub bass, and more analytical. Okay, so sub bass, you would expect that this it produces more of a clinical type of sub bass, right? It's not those type of warm, heavy note weighted type of rumble that you're gonna get. So you're not gonna get the type of warmish rumble from this IEM. Okay, the mid bass is also on the lighter and leaner side in terms of the tone and timbre, and the impact, the punch is there. All right, is a very clinical type of punch, right? It's very precision type of punch. Is not the warmish, muddy type of mid bass, right? So this type of mid bass, I would say, is clinical. Is a fast bass. It sounds very punchy, very impactful. At the same time, it's light. All right, so it's type of how to say, natural type of mid bass, right? It's not the warmish type. Now the mids, all right. So with most of the IMs that I have, they are V-shaped and the mids are recessed. All right. So again, I mentioned the when it's recessed, it doesn't mean that you cannot hear the mids. You can hear the mids, just that it's being veiled, or the star of the show is not the mids. So for the mids, I would say is it's a little bit laid back, right? From the fact that it's got mid sub bass presence and the treble presence. Okay, so instruments like the pianos and the violins, the trumpets, they have that presence, but it's just that the sub bass and the mid bass, they take over the show. But it's just that it's not the fact that it's being veiled. It's not veiled, but they sound clear, because this type of tuning is more of a leaner tune. It's more natural tuning. It's not a dark or warm type of tuning. So the instruments are forward, right? And it's just that the bass and the mid bass, they are a little bit overpowering. Okay, but that's very typical of a V-shaped tuned IEM. Okay, so in terms of mids, the instruments, they sound clear. It's just that a little bit laid back. Vocals, right? So vocals, same thing. For male vocals, they have that lean and thin. I wouldn't say thin or dry. Okay, it's not thin or dry. It's more of a lean and natural type of tone and timbre to the male vocals. I mean, they do have that presence there, depending on the different type of male vocals as well. If you got the higher octave male vocals, and also the low rumbling type of voice of male vocals, it depends. But for male vocals, they do sound a little bit on the leaner side, more of a clinical type of presentation in the mix as well. For female vocals, they sound nice and bright and energetic, and really present in the mix, because female vocals, they tend to ride on the treble. So in terms of female vocals, they have that presence there because the treble is present in the mix. So female vocals, they've got that sparkle, that lean and analytical type of tone, which is more lighter, right? So the lightness adds to the sparkle of their voice, and also it really be present in the mix itself. So female vocals, they don't sound laid back. So I would prefer to listen to female vocals on these IEMs. Okay, so the female vocals, they sound really nice and energetic on the RH-215. Okay, now let's talk about the treble. So treble, as I mentioned, they are bright, right? They are forward, they are bright, and they sparkle. All right, a little bit of harshness on certain tracks, but on most tracks, they don't sound harsh at all, especially if you listen to classical and jazz and female vocals. But sometimes if you listen to heavy metal, some heavy metal songs, they do have that little bit of harshness in terms of the electric guitars and the cymbal strikes and the hi-hats. But on most tracks, they sound good. At the same time, they don't sound sibilant. They don't have that shoutiness. You don't see any shoutiness here. All right, I don't see any shoutiness here. So in terms of treble wise, it's okay. It's just a little bit harsh on certain tracks. But I would say the treble has got a nice roll off, nice extension as well. Energetic, is bright, right? So I like my treble to be bright and more present. So this really does give me that good presentation of the treble, and the nice dose of that brightness and the sparkle from the treble. Okay, nice and clean as well. Okay, so that's my overall impression of this our RevoNext RH-215, and in terms of tracks, okay, I do listen to quite a bit of jazz and classical on this IEM. They sound really good on these IEM. Female vocals as well, especially female jazz vocals. Male vocals, they sound okay. The authority is not there. One thing is because they sound a little bit light and lean on these IEMs, but female vocals, they sound nicer. All right, in my ears, to my ears. At the same time, EDM is okay. They got that punch there and that impact. But metal, heavy metal, rock, not so much on these IEMs. So yeah, R&B is fine. Pop songs are fine on these IEMs. So do I recommend this? Yeah. It's not a all-rounder, I would say. It's not all-rounder, but in terms of most genre of music, these IEMs should play them pretty well. Okay, so let's compare these IEMs with some other IEMs that I have. And the first one, let's compare them with this one. This is the KZ ESX. Let's pull out the graph. Okay, so this is the comparison between the RH-215 and the KZ ESX. So in terms of what I hear, right, in terms of technicalities, I would say this one has got, the ESX has got a wider soundstage, a taller soundstage, and a deeper soundstage, right? So it's a wider soundstage. It's got more air to it as compared to the RH-215. In terms of resolution and detail retrieval, they are almost similar. I can't really hear a difference. Imaging and the sound separation is also similar. Okay, but let's take a look at the graph. Now, again, they have very similar bass, very similar sub bass and mid bass. So in terms of the bass department, these two can really deliver in terms of the punch, the rumble. But the difference here is the treble. So the ESX would sound a little bit darker in terms of treble as compared to the RH-215. So RH-215 has got a brighter treble and it's got a bit more energy, more zest to the treble as compared to the ESX. Okay. Next, let's compare with EDA. Right, so this is the EDA bass version. All right, let's take out the graph. Okay, so this is the EDA Gold, which is the bassiest version of the 3 EDA. And as you can see, the bass is almost similar as well. In fact, the RH-215 has got a little bit more bass as compared to the EDA Gold. And the treble-wise is almost the same, right? So in terms of the technicalities of these two, I can't really tell the difference in terms of the performance of the width and the height of the soundstage. Almost similar in terms of these two. And then the resolution is also okay. I think comparable, right? These two are really comparable in terms of technicalities. I don't hear much difference, right? But in terms of the treble, right, as you can see, they sound almost similar, right, in terms of the brightness, the energy that both produce. So in terms of these two, yeah, I would say they sound very similar in terms of the treble. Okay, now let's compare one more, maybe another brand. This one. So this is the TRN TA1 Max. So let's bring out that graph. Okay, so the TA1 Max. All right, this two, in terms of, okay, so this one is almost similar to the RH-215. It's just that it's got a little bit less treble. It's bright, but it's less bright, just a little bit less. If you take a look at the treble region here, all right, so it's got a similar shape, wave to the graph, but it's just a little bit less. And same goes for the bass, the sub bass and the mid bass. It's got just a little bit less. I mean, I can hardly hear the difference, right? It's just that this one sounds more rumbly. It's got a bit more oomph to the mid bass, but that's just about it, when I listen to the same song on these two IMs. So I would say these two, they sound quite similar, but in terms of soundstage, this one has got a wider and taller soundstage, a bigger soundstage as compared to the RH-215. But other than that, I can hardly hear the difference between these two. All right, in terms of the tuning, they've got a very similar tuning, very similar sound signature. Oh, one thing, the difference I hear is the tone and the timbre. So this one has got a leaner tone and timbre. This one has got a more warmish tone and a heavier note weight. It delivers a heavier note weight as compared to the RH-215. Okay, so I think, yeah, I've compared three, and I think that's enough. Right, so in my conclusion, I would say that the RH-215, it's got a lot of competition in this field, but they do stand out in terms of the treble. All right, so I must say, in terms of treble, it's got a very unique treble is in terms of prominence, and it's V-shaped, right? So not many IM is gonna be as bright as this RH-215. And do I recommend this? Yeah, I do. I mean, it's got a pretty all-round type of tuning. It's just that on certain tracks, because of the brightness of this treble, is not suitable to some genre of music, especially like heavy metal, those rock songs, or any songs with electric guitars or trumpets. Okay, but other than that, it plays all the other genres really well. Okay, so that's it for my review and my impression of this RevoNext RH-215. If you guys enjoyed this video or learned something from this video, do consider to give this video a thumbs up. Okay, so that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day ahead, and I see you again in my next video. Cheers.